If you are trying to heal as quickly as possible from emotional overwhelm or burnout, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, panic attacks, for example, this video might save you years. Most of us, when we are desperate, we are looking for the solution to feel better. And we go on this healing journey hunt for the right diet, the supplements, trying meditation retreats, breath work, energy work, talk therapy, and maybe even taking 3 months off to travel around the world to find yourself. But rushing healing is often the thing that keeps you stuck. Today, I'm going to talk about why slow healing is actually what helps your nervous system rewire so that you can navigate your emotions with more ease, have more energy, and so that your body can heal. And why pushing for healing fast might dysregulate your system further. I'm Naomi Galinsky, a somatic experiencing practitioner, a somatic trauma therapist, and nervous system educator. I came to this work through my own decade-long recovery from chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic insomnia, migraine, IBS, and a whole bunch of symptoms. And this channel is here to help you understand your human experience through the lens of nervous system, trauma resolution, your childhood, transgenerational patterns, and cultural messaging. We live in a fast-paced tech world where change is expected fast. And productivity culture says that if we're not progressing fast enough, we're failing. And that mindset gets applied to healing, and that's where the trouble begins. If you don't understand how your nervous system actually changes, you'll unknowingly work against your recovery. Before we talk about slow healing, ask yourself this: what is driving your desire to heal quickly? Is it fear that your body is failing you? Fear that you'll never get better? Anxiety about the lost time and needing to catch up? Or shame that you should be further along, that you shouldn't have emotional issues, that you've somehow failed because your body is not well? If anxiety is driving your healing, you're adding more pressure to an already stressed system. Anxiety and fear further push us into survival mode. It activates, this urgency activates survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we are out of safety. We're out of that place where we can rest, recover, heal, rejuvenate. And we cannot rewire a nervous system and get to a regulated nervous system from this place of fear, anxiety, and stress. The first shift then is to remove that pressure. So instead of feeling like I'm broken, this needs to go away, I'm miserable, I need to fix myself, to what is it that my nervous system needs to feel better? What do I need to change so that I can move towards safety and health? See the difference? I'm going to talk about neuroplasticity and nervous system rewiring next. You've all heard of neuroplasticity. It's hard not to hear about it. There have been studies of monks meditating and how their brains are rewired differently, and people who have then practiced meditation in the Western world, how then they have a calmer mind, more emotionally regulated. And this neuroplasticity applies to the nervous system as well. It's neuroplastic. So there's a good news and a bad news to it. The bad news is that neuroplasticity means that if you've lived a life of stress and unresolved trauma for your whole life, then imagine these train tracks. There are well-grooved train tracks in your nervous system that go trigger, stress response, survival response, trigger, stress response, survival response, you know? And so we can't erase those train tracks. And the good news is that because of neuroplasticity, we can put new train tracks on top of the old ones to rewire the nervous system to make choices towards safety, healing, and health. And the laying of the new train tracks takes consistent small drops of removing the survival energy that's trapped in your system and consistent small drops of changing your behavior. This rewiring, this laying the new train track, doesn't happen overnight. That means that doing a somatic practice of being attuned and listening to your system, doing that 10 minutes every day has a bigger cumulative effect than doing 1 hour once a week. So just like putting in sand into a glass jar, eventually the jar will get full. And as the jar gets full, sticking with this analogy, your nervous system will continue to feel more safe and build more capacity to handle life's stressors. The other thing that happens when we try to heal too fast is that we overshoot our nervous system's capacity to heal. And I've been there so many times in the first 4 years of my chronic fatigue and chronic illness recovery journey. I was pushing and driving my body hard to heal with all of these different modalities. I did Osho no mind meditation, breath works, 10-day silent Vipassana retreats, and did an intense supplement regime where I took expensive and high doses of supplements. I went on really strict diets, which stressed my body probably even further. And what happened to my system is that I kept crashing and burning out. I might get a little bit better, as in like my energy might increase a little bit, and then I'd crash and go backwards. And sometimes I would fall worse than I was before. And this cycle of trying hard and crashing reinforced the fear in my body that I was stuck, I can't heal. And this message is really important, especially for those of you who have a sensitive nervous system due to chronic fatigue, chronic pain, panic attacks, emotional overwhelm, depression we can put in there as well, or any kind of chronic illness, especially in a system that has very little capacity for stimulation. We need to go slowly. So instead of asking our nervous system to heal and expand so fast, which is stressful to the system and it shuts back down, the more sustainable way of healing is to open up our system a little bit, and then it needs rest and integration time. We open it up a little bit and rest and integration time. And you see how this feels a lot more safer and gentler and sustainable to your nervous system than going poof and collapsing. How do you know you're overshooting your capacity? Well, you're stuck in this loop. Nothing's really changing. You might feel a little bit of an opening. Maybe you have a cathartic emotional release, but then nothing changes. You're more anxious. You're more stressed. You're more tired. And that doesn't lift for weeks to months. The next piece about slow healing is on the topic of integration. Integration is mandatory, vital for the healing to stick. When we open up our system, when we release that survival energy, or we do something that makes us feel lighter, more grounded, more spacious, have more energy, it requires energy for our nervous system to shift states, even if it's a shift towards a positive state. And as we release survival energy, meaning as we release tension, tightness, stuckness, and our body opens up, that requires a reorganization of our tissues, our muscles, our bones at a cellular level. So our nervous system needs recovery time. It needs time to rest, to regain energy, and for that reorganization to happen. That means after sessions, give yourself downtime. Don't do things that stimulate you further. If you happen to have more energy, which is amazing, only do one thing and don't do the 5 things on your to-do list and use up all your energy, because that ends you up in the same place before you started. And then there's the long-term integration of changing your behaviors, your beliefs, your mindset, the way you communicate. Now, doing those things without the somatic work will not make a big difference, but also doing the somatic work without then changing your habits, the way you communicate, the way you show up in the world, you will end up back in the same place because you're not laying new tracks, the neuroplasticity thing that I was talking about earlier. So if we keep on doing the same behavior, end up in the same stressful situations that are triggering you, you're just reinforcing that old groove of stress response. And changing our habits, as you know, it's not an easy task. It requires commitment and making small changes that don't feel overwhelming until these habits become second nature to you. What are then the benefits of this slow feeling? What do you get out of it? When you do this slow healing and allow your nervous system to properly rewire, and the healing sticks, as you look back 3 months, 6 months, you'll notice that you're more grounded, that you feel calmer in situations that used to trigger and spike you. Your baseline of anxiety is lower. You have more energy. Your pain, if you have chronic pain, is reduced. You might have less episodes of migraines. You will have more joy in life, more desire to go out and do hobbies, be creative, be social, and meet people. And sometimes these changes happen at such a boring pace that from day to day we don't notice the difference. So that's why I'm saying these changes don't happen overnight. But when we look back, we notice how we've changed. And that was the difference between the first 4 years of my chronic healing, where I was just stuck in loops, and then the last 4 years where I was actually coming out and I was seeing the shifts. And yes, it took 4 years for me to fully recover. And that's what I'm saying with it's not a quick fix, but I fully recovered. Therefore, the irony is that when you go slower, the healing happens faster. And when you go slowly, your nervous system rebuilds safety. There's more capacity to handle stressors in your life. There are fewer crashes that you experience. And in summary, true healing begins when you stop fighting yourself. When you remove the pressure to need to heal fast. When you trust in your timing and trust that your nervous system wants to heal. And when you start giving it what it actually needs to go back to safety, for it to be able to rest, repair, relax. And the women that I work with in my 6-month container, they see these incredible changes that are changes for life. This 6 month gives them time for repetition, to try things out, time for integration, and to commit to rewiring, to adding these practices in their daily life that doesn't feel overwhelming. I will leave you with, it's slower than you want, but the healing happens faster than you think this way. If this resonates with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel grow. And if you're curious to learn more about how I work and you want to work with me, check out the resources in the description below.